Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Rusko, I think in response to some of the questions of Mr. Shadig and the recommendations as it relates to more cost-effective ways of filling the SPR, he discussed with you the whole issue of heavier versus lighter crude into the SPR. I'd like to ask you about the employment of the dollar cost averaging that you discussed. Why isn't that recommendation being employed?
I don't know why. It clearly makes sense. We did simulations that estimated the value of dollar cost averaging when prices were generally rising but volatile, generally falling but volatile, or staying generally flat but volatile. And as long as there's volatility in prices, you can, on a month-to-month basis, save money and essentially fill the SPR at the same rate that you want. You just have to pick the right target for the number of dollars. You would have to adjust that target periodically because you don't know where prices will be in the future. But there are potentially billions of dollars to be saved as you expand the SPR. Are
you aware of any specific opposition to employing this method when making purchases?
I think that the primary opposition is that the DOE has essentially used royalty in kind oil only to fill or almost exclusively to fill the SPR, and
since when, 1999, later?
Yeah, since about 1999, yes. And the problem with that is that there's no real coordination between DOE and DOI in terms of how to do that. You could still use royalty in kind oil and adopt a dollar cost averaging approach. You would just, DOI would deliver fewer barrels when prices are high, and they would sell the remainder of the RIK barrels in the market and deliver more barrels when the price is low. And you could still do it, but it may be a lack of coordination or a lack of imagination.
No, you're right.
Most likely, I would think you're right on that. We've seen a lot of lack of coordination between
right.
agencies, and if we can save dollars, we appreciate your insight today as we address these issues further. Dr. Cooper, your written testimony notes on page 6 that there is a, quote, disastrous shortfall in domestic refining capacity, and the refinery shortfall has doubled to over 3 million barrels per day since the early 1990s. To what factors do you attribute the increasing refining capacity shortfall over that period of time, and what do you think would be the optimal increase in domestic refining capacity over the next 5 years?
Well, the cause of the lack of capacity is clear. The industry has not provided it. If you look back through the early 1990s, the Clean Air Act amendments were passed in 1990. They went into effect in 1995. And the industry engaged in a series of strategic decisions about what to do. And the central strategic decision was to reduce refinery capacity. The decision was made not to upgrade certain refineries to meet the Clean Air Act. Decisions were made and mergers were allowed to go forward, which dramatically slashed the number of refiners. So we're down, and you know the names, ExxonMobil, Chevron, Texaco, BP, Arco, Amoco, ConocoPhillips. All of those companies once were separate, and now they're one. And so clear decisions made throughout the 1990s about how to tighten the market. There's a very good RAND study which showed a complete change in behavior. They no longer compete for market share on price. And over that time period, we've seen the shortfall increase from about 1.5 million barrels a day to 3 million barrels a day. Refinery profits have gone through the roof. So this is the outcome of a policy of shorting the market, the strategic underinvestment in domestic refining. And every price spike we've had in the last 6 or 7 years, except this most recent one, was always triggered by some complaints about, oh, we didn't have enough capacity. They couldn't even do spring cleaning, switching over from winter fuels to summer fuels without it. So the answer is, I believe Dingell and Stupak had a bill in that started to talk about a domestic refinery reserve, operating these refineries to meet military needs in normal times and diverting capacity to serve the market. The oil industry will not build enough refineries in this country.
My time's almost up. So in addition to the Dingell-Stupak bill, just an optimal increase over the next 5 years, what would you say? I mean,
It'd be wonderful. How are you going to make them do it? The oil industry won't do it. You haul them up here, and they will tell you why they're not going to build any more refineries. You cannot depend on the oil industry to meet our refinery needs.
Gentlelady's time has expired.